So, listen to this. A football club went from lifting a major trophy, drawing to AC Milan, enjoying beating the Premier League Big Six, to falling down the depths of the English football pyramid into a state of what can only be described as depression. How on earth did this happen to Portsmouth FC? Listen to the facts of why they are the most depressing club. So Portsmouth is historically a big team with passionate support, a 21,000 seater stadium, two-time English champions and an FA Cup win in 1939. One more FA Cup was added to the honours in 2008, meaning they qualified for European football. As a result, Portsmouth took out loans to spend loads of money on big players with big wages to satisfy the expectation of constant continental football. Despite their success in the FA Cup and the league, their reckless overspending on players would lead to a financial crisis that would see the club suffer 2 administrations and trigger a downfall. At the end of their Premier League season, Portsmouth couldn't even afford to pay their players. The owner, Alexandre Gaidamak, jumped ship, leaving the club in a dire financial crisis. To make matters worse, the club had to sell their most valuable assets and highest earners just to repay creditors, plunging them into a staggering £68 million debt. Here are what Pompey's passionate supporters had to say about this depressing situation.
Angry, upset, angry with the authorities, angry with the people who've owned the club, angry with the people who've let the fans down, the fans of this great football club.
It's my life. I don't smoke, I don't drink, I just love my football.
A string of catastrophic owners failed to provide stability and investment for Portsmouth FC. The club faced further financial turmoil, administration, a 9-point deduction, and in 2010 was relegated from the Premier League, as it played on the brink of extinction and even fell out of the EFL Championship. Just a couple of years later, the club changed ownership several times, with CSI owned by Russian Vladimir Antonov taking over in 2011. After assuming the role of Pompey chairman, Vladimir Antonov's questionable history in the banking administration of Europe quickly caught up with him. In November 2011, an arrest warrant was issued across the continent for Antonov, who was accused of stripping assets from a Lithuanian bank that had recently gone into administration themselves. This occurred shortly before Antonov's own company, CSI, went bankrupt. To compound matters, HMRC demanded payment of a £1.6 million tax bill from Fratton Park, the club's stadium. As a result, the club went into administration for the second time in 2 years, sparking fears of full liquidation. The financial state of affairs was worse than anticipated, with the club owing over £160 million to creditors, players, staff and trades. You would think and hope the EFL would try and help Pompey, or give them at least a bit of sympathy. Instead, the EFL fined and punished Portsmouth a 10-point deduction. This wrapped up the inevitable relegation to League One, and their entire professional playing squad left the club shortly after. In a new, fresh season in League One, just 4 years previously, they lifted the famous FA Cup and played at some of the biggest and most impressive grounds in Europe, and now they were watching their team get battered 5-0 by Swindon. To make it worse, the Blues faced a record winless run of 23 matches. It appeared all hope was lost. Portsmouth was stuck in a downward spiral. Fortunately, the Pompey Supporters Trust, a fan-led consortium, took control of the club, and former caretaker Guy Whittingham hoped to be Portsmouth's saviour, but it was rather the opposite, as Portsmouth faced relegation to League Two, with projections of going to the National League, the 5th tier of English football. As a result, the fans were left with a sinking feeling of their Portsmouth disappearing forever. I would like to quickly ask you all to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Surprisingly, 99.3% of you are not subscribed, so please do help me out. Anyway, back to the video. Portsmouth's relegation to Tier 4 confirmed the sacking of Whittingham, and ex-Crawley Town gaffer Richie Barker was appointed, but he was also sacked after just 20 games. Andy Orford became caretaker manager and guaranteed Pompey survival in League 2 with 5 wins out of 5 played. Orford was appointed Pompey's permanent manager for just 1 year, and then Paul Cook took over in 2015. He led them to a playoff spot in the 2015-16 season, but lost in the semis to Plymouth Argyle. In the 16-17 season, Cook's side secured promotion to League 1, and the club was finally able to declare itself debt-free after paying back all creditors and legacy payments to the ex-players. Their League 2 winning side included names like Jamal Lowe, Connor Chaplin, Christian Burgess, Cal Naismith and Ender Stevens. All of them went on to have successful moves elsewhere, as the board strangely got rid of them, and all of which may have been the heroes Portsmouth needed to get back up the leagues. Not to mention the fact the academy was once full of talent like Joel Ward, Matt Ritchie and Adam Webster, 3 more Premier League names who left Pompey early for pennies. The academy hasn't really produced anything successful since, and a transfer budget is relied on, but not present. Nowadays, American billionaire and Disney CEO Michael Eisner owns the Blues, a deal which left many fans excited, but results are yet to be seen. The owner's current priority is to invest in the training ground and stadium, which has affected the transfer budget. These steps are only taking Portsmouth backwards, as you cannot focus on getting Premier League foundations without even getting out of League 1 first. It is getting harder and harder for Portsmouth to dig their way out of League 1. Fratton Park, which was an atmospheric and difficult place to go to, is no longer feared by oppositions, and the fact teams with small budgets are getting promoted and beating Portsmouth constantly is putting Portsmouth into a larger state of depression. Management as well has been another huge issue recently. Kenny Jackett, a notorious manager, bought entirely the wrong style of play, which upset the fans and players. The Cowley brothers were not strict enough and had no experience in League 1 promotion, the wrong people to wake this sleeping giant. Current manager John Musinho is again inexperienced and has a negative relationship with some supporters. The fans' expectations are understandably high, and 7 seasons in League 1 is not good enough. Without significant investment in the team this coming summer, the Eisners risk losing the trust of their supporters entirely. The Eisners need to find a way to bridge the gap between the strong foundation they have built and the lackluster footballing performances on the pitch. Only then can they turn Portsmouth back into the successful club it used to be. Across the south coast, nearby AFC Bournemouth was a club in a very similar sticky situation. Click the video to find out how they managed to get themselves out of this similar state of depression.